Nick has done an amazing job on email for us.
We're seeing 131% growth on the email revenue side.
The flows are up like over 90% in conversion value, which is dope.
In addition, he helped us increase our email revenue 400% just in Q4.
Immediately upon working with him, our email campaign revenue doubled.
I think that Nick Barbs builds a lot of trust and actually is interested in helping you.
I would highly recommend Barbs Media for your email marketing.
If it feels like nothing you do is moving the needle in your e-com business, this is probably why. You spend more on ads, revenue goes up, a profit barely moves. So you decide to launch another campaign, run another promotion, maybe send another discount, and while sales still keep coming in, it never actually feels like you're getting ahead. See, the problem isn't that you need more customers. The problem is that too many of the customers you've already paid to acquire never come back and buy again, which means every month you're forced to spend more money acquiring new customers just to maintain that same level of growth. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact process we use with our own clients to identify those bottlenecks, uncover hidden revenue opportunities, and build a business that grows more profitably over time. Now, before I show you the system, let me just show you a few examples of what happened when we implemented this system for some of our clients.
Take one of our apparel clients, for example.
Before partnering with us, email generated roughly $100,000 per year. It wasn't a major growth channel for them, but after migrating them to Klaviyo and implementing a retention system, email generated nearly $500,000 in revenue during our first year together from a list of just 15,000 subscribers. Not because we increased ad spend, not because we found some crazy new acquisition channel, but we simply built a better system for turning first-time customers into repeat customers.
Next, we have one of our footwear clients.
After implementing the same retention-focused strategy, email increased by 131% year over year within the first 90 days. And more importantly, that growth wasn't temporary. We've maintained that same level of performance throughout the following year and continue to work with them to this day.
We even used the same system with a sport equipment company we partnered with.
When we first started, we completely rebuilt all their pop-ups, flows, and back-end retention systems all the way from the ground up. And in Q4 alone, email revenue increased by 339% year over year, generating more than $230,000 in revenue. 3 completely different businesses, 3 completely different customer bases. Yet the same pattern kept showing up. The brands seeing the biggest gains weren't necessarily spending more money to acquire customers. They were just doing a better job of keeping the customers they already had. And that's exactly what this system is built to solve. My name is Nick. I'm the founder of Barbs Media, and we help e-commerce brands increase customer lifetime value, drive more repeat purchases, and grow more profitably through stronger retention systems. And over the last few years, I've noticed something interesting. Most brands don't actually have a traffic problem. They really have a customer retention problem, because acquiring a customer is only half the battle, but the real challenge is getting them to come back. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Most founders think growth works like this: more traffic, more customers equals more revenue. And while technically that may be true, it doesn't really tell the whole story, because revenue alone doesn't indicate whether your business is becoming more profitable. It doesn't tell you whether customers are coming back, and it doesn't tell you whether your growth is sustainable. The best e-commerce brands focus on 3 stages: customer acquisition, customer retention, and customer loyalty. First, you acquire the customer, then you get them to come back and make another purchase, and finally, you turn them into a loyal customer who continues buying from your brand over time. Most brands spend nearly all of their time and money on customer acquisition. The best brands focus on all 3, because every customer that comes back increases customer lifetime value, and every increase in customer lifetime value makes customer acquisition more profitable. And of course, every increase in profitability is only going to create more room for you to scale. Now, at this point, you're probably wondering, all right, Nick, that's super cool, but how do I know if I actually have a retention problem? The reality is that most founders don't know. They can see the symptoms: growth slows down, profit gets squeezed, customers don't come back often enough, but they don't know exactly where the bottleneck exists. So we built something to help e-commerce brands diagnose that problem for themselves. We call it the retention gap calculator. Let me show you exactly how it works. So a lot of founders might know their revenue numbers and average order value, and some might even know their repeat purchase rates or customer lifetime value. But very few understand how all of these metrics work together. And that's exactly what the retention gap calculator is designed to help you solve. The calculator walks you through a series of questions about your business. Things like annual revenue, average order value, customer lifetime value, repeat purchase rate, subscriber conversion metrics, and a handful of other data points. But the real value isn't any one metric. It's understanding how all of these metrics interact with one another. Because one small bottleneck in the customer journey can create a much larger impact on revenue than most founders realize. Now, one thing that's important to understand is that the more accurate your inputs are, the more value the output becomes. That's why we encourage you to use real business data whenever possible and try to be as exact as possible. We're not just trying to generate some flashy number to get your attention. but we are trying to create the clearest possible picture of where your biggest growth opportunities exist. The calculator also accounts for margin of error because not every founder knows every metric perfectly, and not every business tracks retention data the same way. So instead of pretending the output is an exact prediction, it provides a realistic estimate based on the information available. And once you complete the assessment, that's where things get really interesting. The first thing you'll see is your estimated retention gap. This represents the annual revenue opportunity that may exist within your current customer base based on how your metrics compare to top performing e-commerce brands. Now again, this isn't a guarantee, it's a directional estimate designed to show the impact of the opportunity. Next, you'll see exactly where the opportunity is coming from. And for some brands, the issue might be subscriber conversion. For others, it's getting first-time customers to make a second purchase. And for others, it's keeping existing customers engaged over time. You'll also see benchmark comparisons across key retention metrics so you can understand where you're already performing well and where the biggest gaps exist. And finally, you'll receive a prioritized breakdown of the opportunities likely to have the biggest impact on your business. The goal isn't to overwhelm you with data. The goal is to help you understand exactly where your growth bottleneck is. Now, this is where most retention strategies fall apart. They focus on sending more campaigns, prettier designs, open rates, click rates, and other engagement metrics, but none of these are the actual goal. The goal is increasing the value of every customer that you acquire, because if customers aren't coming back and buying again, none of those metrics really matter. If you'd like to see where your biggest retention opportunities are, I've linked the retention gap calculator below. It only takes a few minutes to complete, and by the end, you'll have a much clearer understanding where your biggest growth bottlenecks exist and what opportunities may be available inside your current customer base. And over the last few years, we've helped 50 plus e-com brands generate millions in additional revenue by focusing on customer retention. And while every business is different, the pattern is almost always the same. The brands that win aren't necessarily the brands with the biggest ad budgets. They're the brands that get customers to come back and buy again and again. So before you spend another dollar in ads, just ask yourself, do you actually know where your biggest growth bottleneck is? If not, click the link below and try the retention gap calculator today, and you'll know exactly where to focus next.